day the sun is glorious in your beautiful country, and the bees are pollinating the flowers, and the sky is in misty pearlescent blue. It's beautiful. You're not in dark times. You're in times of questioning. Those are light times. The moment you want to know more is not dark, it's light. My name is J.Z. Knight, and it is the last day of April 1998. I am 52 years old, and I have spent the last 22 years of my life with the phenomenal being who appeared to me in 1977. I am Ramtha the Enlightened One. I am 35,362 1 and 37 seconds years old. I was born in that which is termed a great and marvelous place called Lemuria, and my destiny here is to teach you that which you desire to know, and to let you know that every word that I say I will manifest for you in your life. And you need not be in my audience, you only need to hear the words, and the words will manifest, so be it. I am here to share our story together, my story with Ramtha, my education, what I have learned and what I have gained, and perhaps most importantly, helping to define better the mystery of what God is. My daughter, as one of my children, is a great warrior because she has simply survived believing what she knows is truth. And that is an accomplishment in your time, wouldn't you say? I mean, this was like an angel in my kitchen. You don't have time to react. You don't have time to rationalize this in your life. This is happening in your little kitchen. I just blurted out, "You're so beautiful. Who are you?" And he smiled. This beautiful smile lit up the whole room, and he said, "I am Ramtha the Enlightened One, and I've come to help you over the ditch." And I looked back up at him, and he said, "Beloved daughter," he said, "I have come to make you a light to the world. I am a teacher and a God. I'm a God because I experienced all of these things. And I am a teacher, not of truth, but of philosophy. I have already lived my truth. It's my truth. It's not yours. It's philosophically and theoretically yours to be, but not yet. So I must become the teacher. I must plant in your mind outrageous concepts that you should never be afraid of. You can never fail what I tell you is in front of you. You can never fail destiny when you accept it. You're on automatic after that. When you say, "I accept my genius," you are on automatic. You can never fail acceptance. You can only fail when you reject the opportunity. That is failure. Your mind does a lot of things to try to dismiss what is really a divine moment. We should never dismiss our divine moments. And like every human being, we're so ready to accept our lacks rather than our virtues. We're so eager to accept our disbelief rather than our opportunities. I mean, it's like drilled into us not to believe in the extraordinary. It's okay to pray to God, but it's not okay if he answers. I am a teacher that teaches to that which is termed my people the potentials that they have not dreamt, nor thought, nor dreamed and conceived that they could possibly be. I teach them that they are And the moment that I teach them that they are, they captivate the thought in the neural net of their brain, and they ponder it. And if they ponder it dutifully and accept, if they can say to me, I accept, it feels so right to me, I accept. And if they accept that, they never have to be afraid or worry, because they are on automatic, because the will of God has accepted the dream. And that dream takes them to a new paradigm of experience, a new life, a life that is much more than hope. It is everything they never could have dreamed about. That is where I am the teacher. I am a philosopher. I cannot impart my truth upon my students. It's not truth to them. Nothing is the truth until they experience it. It is all philosophical theorem. It is pure science. And only when they have taken what I have taught them and applied through acceptance, and then they experience it, then we have truth. He's not a phantom. He's not an illusion. He's not a Christ. He's not a devil. He's not a demon. He's not a guru. He's a God who loves life and understands it better than anyone you'll ever hear. It's really simple. First, you have to acknowledge that you are the great intelligence and it lives in you. And your body is an extension of that intelligence. And there is no good and bad in God. That's impossible. We're powerful enough that we deserve to know everything. We deserve to know the truth. And those who ask are going to be given everything, going to be given all the sacred knowledge. See, he considers us sovereigns. And that part of the world that wants to know what he has to say, he'll teach you. What is it to have one day without judging yourself right or wrong, good or bad, and not believe in anyone's lies? No one ever knows who you are. The only one that knows who you are is you. No one can ever judge you, so never believe their judgments. Only believe in yourself. And before you lies everlasting life. Never be afraid to dream. It's what we're supposed to do. We are here to make known the unknown. That is not to keep the known circulating. We are to change and evolve and dream new paradigms and release the old and go on to the new. We're not married to this life and holy matrimony, and we're not married to education and holy matrimony. There is no degree that you have that should ever stop or say you have reached the height of your learning, for it is nothing compared to what life will teach you. And just be ready for that. I was born March 16th, 1946, in Roswell, New Mexico. And I was born to migrant farm workers. I began my life in the cotton fields. We didn't have a lot of money to spend on books or education or fine things that normal folk would have. So I grew up without culture, without education. In those young days, I grew up without an understanding about God. I grew up running in the cotton fields, following behind my mother's cotton sack. That was my life. And I always knew that God had been with me back in those cotton fields of East Texas. And I always knew that he had always watched over me when I was a child. And that's when I was profoundly touched by God in my life, and that sort of set my journey. But it began a life and a relationship with talking to God every day of my life and seeing my life as a blessing and seeing it as an opportunity and here to do something marvelous, and I didn't know what that marvelousness would be.
We are not given but one lifetime to prove what we know. This is not a test. It is an opportunity. We are here to make known the unknown, and we've been doing it for 10.5 million years. And I only came on the scene 35,000 years ago. I would say that I'm relatively young to many of you who have been reincarnating and slowly evolving to ask the great questions, the great mysteries, to have them revealed here. My daughter is here simply to say, you're an immortal. You are wearing this body as if you wore a garment of silk or a garment of roughly hewn wool. You are here simply to wear the garment and to live the experience, but you have never died and never will. That is not in the plan of God. You are wanted.
He saw what God really is. God is not a being. It is life itself. It's the will of life, and it's in everything.
You want to help people, and you have to live your light, and you have to be proud that you accept, if God lives, He is in me. And you are a righteous man for saying so. Because if He lives in you, then He lives in everyone. Why cannot everyone share such a treasure?
I love His message, behold God. I love it that He says to us that we are divine and that we have in us the faculty and the abilities and the utility to exercise those abilities to do marvelous things.
Because you never want to miss this kind of moment ever, ever. And you never want to discharge this as your duty. This is your life, is everyone's life. Everyone has marvelous opportunities ahead of them. Not one person in the world that doesn't.
The journey of awakening is not through a redeemer, but when we realize we are our own redeemer. Ramtha has never encouraged anyone to think of him as a guru. And he teaches them and reminds them always through the disciplines, the exercises that they do. It is up to them to develop what is beautiful in them. The message is not about Ramtha, and it's not about J.Z. Knight. The message is about the person who's listening, and that it's up to that individual to take those teachings and to embrace them within themselves. Don't feel like you do not have the ability to be spiritual, to be divine, and to be glorious, because you do.
It is a lie, what the fanatics tell you, that you're supposed to be poor and weak and humble, is a lie. The greater your ideas and the greater you put them into practice, the greater you glorify God. You do not glorify God by abstaining from life, because life is the gift itself. You glorify God by being life. And the greater your ideas, and the more beautiful they are, the more they foster to all of humanity a snowfall of wonderment. That is a great intelligence.
It is up to us to develop that. And Ramtha gives us permission. He first says, you are God. Now let's get about learning how to be that. And not only in philosophy, but in action. That's the training. He's not our Redeemer. He's our brother.
The league of teaching is so impoverished in the world. Everyone is so afraid to teach what they might be wrong about. And who is ever wrong? The teacher is never wrong, because the teacher can only teach what the teacher knows. to teach it to that which is termed the neophyte. One should never be afraid to teach the neophytes. If the neophyte utterly fails to grasp the opportunity and does not experience it, does not wrong the teacher, but only the lack of exploration to the student to which the gift was given. Now, everyone is much more beautiful than they ever dreamed, and no one on this earth seems to be able to getting the message across without it clothed in some sort of religious ordination. The greatest temple that was ever made is the temple of the human being. That's what the human being is. And that our own journey is to develop that. As long as we think that some channel, some channeled entity, some Christ, some priest, some preacher, some deity, some prophet is our Redeemer that excuses us from living life, we have missed the message. Why don't we learn to think on our own and find new benefactors for that greatness? Genius, you know, it is that which is not mediocrity, is not predictable, is not funded, is not hired. It is that which can dream beyond the paradigms. You have the ability to be a genius. And did you know that every dream that you dream should never be put aside as imagination? That every dream is the next step of your evolution. And you should embrace it as surely as you embrace that tomorrow morning is going to come. Giving people permission to do that is a powerful and wonderful thing. And don't be bothered and worried and be afraid. Don't be afraid of what I've told you. And don't dismiss me as my daughter or to dismiss me as a fraud. My God, man, have more intelligence than that. Listen to the message. That's what's important here. And their message is saying nothing bad about you at all. Saying everything wonderful about you. Ramtha and I are creating a lot of questions in the world today, which is good. As the channel of Ramtha, he is demonstrating that women are God, not servants, not lesser than men, but through women, God is also realized. That's the reason why it's a woman channel. And through the genius and brilliance that comes through, and the demeanor, personality, it's obviously masculine. And you combine those two, we have God man and God woman realized. Don't believe what people tell you that they think you should be. Believe in yourself. And there is only one great church that was ever built, and that was the temple of the human body. There's nothing more beautiful than it. And therein, in the secret garden, we meet our God. I must tell you something that I think is worth saying here. If Ramtha wanted to teach this work himself, he could have done so. And he certainly didn't need some backwoods young woman, you know, out of Tacoma, Washington. But the message isn't Ramtha. The message isn't what it looks like. It's what he is and what he represents inside of us. Why cannot everyone share such a treasure? And why argue that we shouldn't share it? And what better do you have to offer? If you are there to argue for your limitations, then what better do you have to offer me and society? If you are skeptical of my philosophy, do you have something better? There is a deep fear within ourselves that we've blown it. And that's why we're afraid of the supernatural. Because we're afraid it's going to tell us that we have, when in fact it's not true. It's not true at all. What is the meaning of life? What happens when I'm at the top? Am I really special? Do I have peace?
Are my dreams sweet and my rest nice? Or am I tormented that I have to protect being at the top? And who said it was the top? Maybe there's another top. Maybe this madness goes on into all infinity. And then we stop. Ah, got to be something more than this. Sex is no longer sacred. Religion is no longer sacred. Everyone questions the church. They should. Everyone questions the meaning of life, and everyone questions the direction that science has taken. And when you do that, it is an age of enlightenment. We cannot have. Enlightenment does not come on the heels of the Black Plague. No, that is not enlightenment. Enlightenment comes on the heels of plenty. Because only when you are gluttonous to everything and you question everything are you ripe to know what you have never known. So forget about the past and live today on the wisdom, the virtue of what you've gained. You don't have to feel guilty about your life anymore. I would love someone to stand up and say, God doesn't live outside of you. God is you. And that you have the brain, the body, the genetics. You have science that says that whatever you think creates reality. I would love for everyone to know, when we put all that package together, that we're free to be divine, to be brilliant, to be happy, to have longevity, and to have adventures, and to no longer live in the darkness of guilt and fear, anxiety, and shame. We are such divine creatures that when we believe in ourselves, all reality gives us the stage of that destiny. You just got to believe in yourself. That's all you have to do. Maybe you may not like anything he has to say but one thing. And you walk away with that one thing. It's changed your life forever. Have you ever watched the demise of anyone who stood up for their own truth that went against scientific finding and indeed religious thought? For the most part, they've been destroyed, ridiculed, and if they haven't had their life taken from them, they have certainly had their political advantage taken from them. They've been humiliated by that which is termed the voting populace of their own intimate friendships. They've been destroyed. It's been really hard, but isn't that sweet? Because it's only through that adversity that I came to a point to realize that I'm not living for the world. I had no idea. I didn't have a clue. There'd be such hatred and such animosity and such ugly things said about this journey. And I went through the 80s in the dark night of the soul, ostracized, criticized, lied about. Horrible things were said about me and my family by intelligent people. Every battle worth winning had to be hard. Every battle, because being different is ostracism, even though it is genius. And there is an overwhelming temptation to be accepted. And acceptance is viewed by the human creature as love. And when you're loved, you're going to be fed and sheltered and clothed. You're going to be accepted. There is no secret society on earth more secret than the fraternity of human consciousness. And in that, everyone pays their dues to belong. And this is one entity that got out. There will be people who will hear this interview, who will watch this interview, that this interview was divinely created just for them. Doesn't matter if it's only 10 people in the world, it was worth it.
And all we have to do is close our eyes and ask who is listening to our thoughts. Because if we can remember our thoughts, then there was more than one participant in them. And the one who listens is the God within. And the day that we realize that, who's listening, and the day we talk to it, is the day that we find our covenant with God again. And we awaken from our long, drunken sleep. So be it. Thank you.